Okay, what we're going to talk about today is going to be a new nation faces challenges. Okay, to set this up, we just got our independence from Great Britain, but there's a couple of issues with this. We don't want a strong government, so we have these Articles of Confederation that we already talked about. So it's extremely weak. We have to ask the states for money, troops. Really can't even trade or anything like that. So we're going to talk about all these weaknesses and how they add up. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna have trouble with Great Britain itself. They still have forts that are actually in the territories there on the American side, near the Great Lakes. They're very slow to withdraw, so they have thousands of troops that are actually ready to pounce at a moment's notice, pretty much, if we try to take those forts by force. So we're trying to not, we can't be forceful. We don't have an army. And that is a very, very negative kind of like thing that's going on. So America needs these forts, and the reason why is because of the fur trade is what we need them. So that's why the British actually warn us about those thousands of troops that they can actually take, and they could. They can actually cause quite a few problems up there in the Great Lakes. Another one that we have is still with Great Britain, and that's trade. We're still trying to trade with Great Britain, but that's not going to work out too good for us because they call it a blockade in your book. But what they're doing is they're going to throw in, they're going to close many of our ports to American trading. The West Indies, which would be it's just south of Florida there in the West Indies. You might want to call it like the Bahamas, Cuba, the DR, Dominican Republic, and Haiti, those kind of places. That's actually one island, Hispaniola. They're going to close those, Jamaica. They're going to close those down. Okay, so we can't trade to them. That's a blockade in a way. So, and they also throw in high tariffs. Now, tariffs are taxes on imports. Okay, stuff that's coming in that we're buying, so it would cost us more money to buy them, and also on exports. So they would actually tax us and raising the money of our goods. So let's say you want to buy something from Britain, it's going to cost you cheaper in Britain, but more in the United States, and vice versa. If we sell something to Great Britain, it's cheap in the United States, but it's going to cost more in Great Britain. So you're not going to buy American goods. You're going to buy British goods. So this is a ongoing problem, especially with China today. So high tariffs. So that's max taxation on imports and exports. And what these would include would be rice, tobacco. They're talking about tar and these ultimately these costs are going to equal to this economic on customers. So who gets hit is our pocketbook. The people are actually buying these goods. So higher prices equals the economic crisis problem. So now we got Spain. We got some problems with Spain. They shut down the Mississippi. So the Mississippi is a major highway going down south, and our farmers want to go ahead and use that, and then they're going to go out the Delta there and the Gulf, and then head on around the peninsula of Florida and on the East Coast. It's a lot faster, okay, instead of going like mathematics. They're talking about the fastest point to get somewhere is from point A to point B is a straight line. Not necessarily true when it comes to a bunch of, I don't know, wilderness, okay? You got a bunch of trees, mountains, other things in the way. So waterways are the fastest way to get there. So they're going to shut this down, 1784. Spanish officials closed this lower Mississippi River to the United States. Why? Congress actually tried to work out an agreement, but it failed. Because state leaders, state leaders. So the federal government's trying to work something out with Spain. State leaders began to criticize the actual national government, the federal government. So, and saying that Spain might actually have negotiated if the United States had a stronger military. And that's federalism. Okay, they want a stronger daddy. And we don't have a strong military. So it's not like we could say no to the Spanish either. So It's hurting us with Great Britain, with their forts, and with our trading. And it's also hurting us with Spain, and that's going to hurt our economy as well. So the impact of these closed markets. Okay, here we go. Farmers could actually no longer export their goods to the West Indies. Ouch. American exports drop while the American goods actually flow freely into the United States. We did talk about that. And that's called unequal trade, okay? Which we are dealing with, again, with China. Unequal trade. Those are called trade agreements, all right? You're going to hear that in the news a lot, trade agreements, especially with China, okay? You got to pay attention to that. You can't ignore China. All right. Now, let's talk about 1700s again. Now, they have a Confederate Congress here. They had no authority to pass tariffs whatsoever, or actually order the states to actually pass tariffs. And that would be imports and exports on other countries like Britain, France, and Spain, and other countries, but mostly Great Britain. If one state passed a tariff, then the British, this is really interesting. They would do a little like a side shift here. So if they would go to one state, right, and the state passed a tariff, right, then British would actually sidestep that state and go to another state that simply would sell their goods to another state. So we're not unified whatsoever. The states are 13 individual states. Are not, you call yourself the United States, but you're not united. You're on individual states. So the states worked only to increase their own trade increase instead of a whole. So they're out for themselves instead of looking out for the whole of the country. Okay, that's what they're doing. So they're used to that. They even have like different, we'll get to the different monies and stuff like that. So in 1785, they actually have a British magazine that comes out, and they call this new nation, right? They call the United States of America, they call us the disunified states, which is kind of interesting because we're not unified. Americans started looking for other markets to trade, such as, oh, here you go, China. That's in the 1780s. That's when we actually started like trading with China. What's some other ones? We're going with France and the Netherlands. Okay, so we're actually looking for new people to trade with because Britain and Spain aren't wanting to help us out. Okay, economic problems. This is all about problems. Okay, that's why the title is going to be A Nation Faces Challenges. Okay, we have challenges, but this is going to make us stronger. Okay. We have trade problems. We got war debts because of the Revolutionary War. Hey, we got a weak economy. Okay, so we got interstate commerce. This is a definition of interstate commerce. We do have interstate highways. Obviously, that's got to be a road that goes from one state and then through another state to another state. So it's going to through a state. So it's an interstate highway. It's going to be trade between two or more states. That's what interstate commerce is, because commerce is trade. So trade between two or more states is interstate commerce. States actually follow their own trade interests. Again, they're out for themselves. Different trade laws for actually each state. So they have trade is very difficult between these states. They're squabbling. They're out for themselves and not communicating. They're not taking care of a whole. They're not united. Okay, so now we talk about inflation. Now, this has gone on since the beginning, and it's even today. We have inflation today. Now, the definition of inflation, this occurs, you're going to always hear, there's going to be a word that always goes along with like inflation or depression, all right? There's going to be a combination of things to make this happen. So, inflation occurs when there are an increase of prices for goods. Okay, so price goes up for the goods and also services. And that a service could be like a plumber, an electrician, somebody that's going to be changing your oil, anything of a human being, services. It could be somebody coming to work on your computer, or just a person that does work. It's services. Combined with, there's that word combined with the reduced value of money. Now, how can you reduce the value of the dollar? Anybody know what that is? Yeah, you make more of it. Okay, so you flood the market right? With a bunch of dollar bills in there. Dollar bill, the value goes down. Okay, so you got the dollar bill goes down, and then you have increased prices of goods and services. That's going to get you inflation. That's going to get you in trouble, okay? That's going to lead to a possible depression. That's the next word we're going to go over. A depression is a period of low economic activity. Not just that, but here's the word combined again. Combined with a rise in unemployment. So you have people out of work like we have today. There's a ton of people out of work that are trying to try new and different ways of making things work through this pandemic, okay? So, and things are working. Some people are actually, finding new ways to do things, okay? So it's opening up new markets. So rising unemployment, which is not good whatsoever. And then they have this depression, which is low economic activity. So what is that? They're not buying anything because everything's so expensive, okay? And then you don't have a job. So this is all going to lead up to a rebellion. And this guy's name is Shays, Shays, okay? Shays Rebellion. He's a farmer. Farmers are heavy debt. The reason why the farmers are in heavy debt, because farmers had trouble paying their debts. They're poor. They're not wealthy individuals. Now, here's the deal. Now, in a court, the courts began forcing the farmers to sell their land. How are you going to pay off a debt if you're selling your land and you're a farmer? Figure that one out. Then, to kick it off, when you're selling off your land and property and you don't actually have the money to pay off your debts, you go to prison. Now, how are you going to pay off? That's another thing. How are you going to pay off your debts when you're in prison? Yeah. So if you're in debt, you go to debtor's prison. Okay? So that's not a good situation whatsoever. That's a lose-lose. So many state governors, these leaders did not even care about the problems of the poor farmers. Remember the 3 R's. Rules without a relationship lead to rebellion. Oh, hello. Okay? So who doesn't have a relationship? Right? The governors don't, because they don't care about the farmer. Who's going to rebel? The farmer is. Okay? I mean, this is just it's a recipe for disaster again. Okay? So you got the farmers are going to rebel. I don't blame them. I'd rebel too. I mean, you're not even able to feed your family. So how'd they do this? How'd they rebel? They closed down the courts. Okay? They closed out the courts in Western Massachusetts. With the courts shut down, no one is going to actually no one owns property actually can be taken. So in other words, you're not gonna take my money, you're not gonna take my property, you're not gonna put me in prison because you don't have a court. Well, that's not gonna go so well because they're gonna be put down here in a second. Hundreds of men led by Daniel Shays, we talk about him, shut down the Supreme Court in Springfield, Massachusetts. Now, there's this uprising of farmers to protest. This is high taxes, right? And a heavy debt became known as Shays Rebellion. All right, so how are you going to deal with Shays Rebellion? Because he is going to be defeated. All right, state troops. They send in state troops. Actually, they had to hire individuals from the state to come in and put down Shays Rebellion. Because who doesn't have troops? Well, wait for it. The federal government. Okay? So you have merchants who are losing money here, and they have to actually pay for Shays people to be put down. That's very interesting to study that. That's really quick, down and dirty. All right, now we have some change, calls for change, because this is like red lights, man. I mean, Shays Rebellion. Now we're getting in. Okay, you have it's like a little ladder here. Okay, you got this problem, then it leads to this problem, then it leads to that problem, and then it's going out through the roof. So we got to have some changes. Okay. So states have more power than the federal government. You remember me tearing a piece of paper, okay, like this, and this is the federal government's power, and this is the state's power. That's not federalism. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, it needs to be divided, equally divided. Okay, so the states have more power than the federal government. That's why Shays Rebellion actually showed the weakness of the Articles of Confederation. They can't even raise an army. Okay? You can't even defend your own court system. That's terrible. Also, more Americans began calling for a stronger central government. Yeah, maybe they even wanted a weaker government. Now they're like, whoa, hey, wait a minute. We need somebody to protect us. They wanted leaders who wanted to be able to protect, right, the nation and times of crisis, just like today, right? We want to be protected in times of crisis. Who we call on? We call on, usually we're going to look at here. We're going to look at the government, and that's their job, is to protect us, okay? We the people, right? So that's what's going on there. So then we have so then they're going to try to get this all figured out. This is very interesting. 9 states, not 13, 9. 9 states decided to send delegates to the Annapolis. Now, Annapolis, that's the actual Naval Academy, okay? So they have it in Annapolis, okay? So Annapolis Convention, right? But some of their delegates were actually late and missed out totally on the meeting. That's how important they thought it was. They were like, oh, well, we didn't make it, darn. Connecticut, Georgia, Maryland, and South Carolina, they didn't even show up. They didn't even respond at all. Now, does that sound like the United States of America? No, it doesn't. It sounds more like what was it? Disunified states. There we go. Disunified. Or I would technically say it was the, I don't know, is not unified at all. The United States is the divided states of America. Divided. All right, here we go. So who's going to call for change are 2 guys. All right, you're going to hear about these later. This is really a poor This is a poor turnout, okay? So it gets 2 guys, their dandruff up. One is going to be James Madison, and then the other one's going to be Alexander Hamilton, which is a really cool show out right now on Disney Plus if you want to watch it. Okay, James Madison, you need to know this. He's the father of our Constitution. Yeah, James Madison, okay? James Madison, father of our Constitution. Now, he's going to get up with Alexander Hamilton. This is what they're going to do. They're going to call all 13 states. They're going to call all of them to actually send delegates. You're going to send a delegate, and they're going to send them to Philadelphia, okay? And they're going to call this the Constitutional Convention, all right? It is in Philadelphia. What are they going to do? They're going to revise the Articles of Confederation. Wonder why? Because they're weak. And what showed it like a giant flashlight was Shays' Rebellion. But you have to have, it's like a car crash. It has to have certain steps happen to get to that place in point in time to where we've had enough. Okay? So that's it. Chapter, what is that? Chapter 5, section 1? No, 2, section 2. So a new nation faces challenges. We just started. Okay? All right, that's it. Hope you have a wonderful day.